Hello everyone, welcome back to the Over the Line Football YouTube channel, and today we're going to be speaking about something very poignant right now, and that's the England national team, in particular Gareth Southgate, triggered by England's 4-0 loss to Hungary at Molineux yesterday. We're going to be speaking about the topic that everyone's speaking about, and that is Gareth Southgate. Not even 12 months on from reaching a European final, his future has been put into question by certain sections of the support base. Jamie, first of all, I suppose we have to talk about last night, right? First of all, I'm interested to know, just personally, from your point of view, what was your thinking coming into these Nations League games?
Considering what happened in Nations League, I've seen previously when we beat the likes of Spain and Croatia and won the Nations League, and I actually enjoyed the games. Felt quite competitive. Obviously, thought it seemed to be not the hardest group, considering the likes of Hungary and Italy haven't been performing very well recently. Obviously, I know we had lost to Italy in Euros.
Germany in particular is not.
And Germany as well, a good team. So I thought, well, we're competitive, but I think we should do well. And obviously we haven't won a single game in those 4 games. We scored 1 goal. I mean, the game yesterday just didn't make much sense to me. I think Southgate was just confused into what to do all the time. He changed formation at half-time. Formation didn't work. He tried to match Hungary up with a 5 at the back. Obviously, that didn't work at all. And then all of a sudden, 4-0 down. I got 10 men. Stones is now banned for 1 game. Obviously, we'll talk about that later on in the video. But for me, it just like Southgate doesn't know what to do when he's losing. And for me, if that happens in the World Cup and we're losing a game, I don't really see how we're going to return it. So that's...
Yeah, to be fair, I was very defensive of Southgate last night on Twitter, and that's only because me as a fan has been completely exhausted by this season, the amount of games we're playing. I know it's different for you, like playing in the Championship, but for me as a Manchester City fan, we've gone deep into virtually every competition. So it has just been a very long season, and I'm sure the players feel it too, especially the ones that are competing on an international stage. And I understand the argument that obviously every single country, Italy, Germany, Hungary, have all had long seasons as well. But it was quite clear, I think, from minute 1 of that Hungary game that the players weren't particularly bothered. They literally just wanted to be on the beach. Of course, the caveat to that is that now we've only got 2 games until the World Cup, 2 more friendly games, or is it 2 more Nations League games in it?
Yeah.
Until the World Cup, and these 4 games were the chance for some of sort of not want to say the lesser known talent, but the talent that are breaking through into the England team to show why they deserve to be in Southgate's team to take to Qatar. And I don't really think many people showed up in that respect as well. That was evident from game 1 against Hungary. Very uninspiring performance against Germany, saved by a clumsy challenge and VAR. Italy, obviously I didn't watch very closely. You did watch it quite closely. We're pretty dire in for a goal. Yep. And then yesterday was yesterday. It felt like a bit of a culmination of the previous 3 games. You joked, didn't you, at the start of the game, 3-0 Hungary, and you were nearly right. Yeah, it was I suppose we have to focus on that display the other day. Obviously not the starting 11 that Southgate will select. No. But are you disappointed by the players that don't really play as often for England not showing up and putting a case in to start the game in a couple of months' time?
Well, I'll just go off what Southgate says, and he says he picked the team wrongly. He wants to put the young lads and get them into a game where you kind of like need to show them they need to make a difference. And for me, they didn't make much of a difference. I mean, the midfield 3 looked to me that it was just a flat midfield 3. Callum Phillips wasn't sitting at all. I mean, Callum Phillips for me was probably the worst game I've ever seen him play yesterday. So that's kind of didn't really help if he's supposed to be off a holding midfielder and he's had the worst game of his career. It's not giving you much confidence. Every time we had the ball in the first half, we just passed sideways across the back 4. No one was coming short for the ball. Like I said, Phillips, when Rice is on the pitch for England, he comes deeper for the ball, and next to Walker, and the fullbacks make those runs forward because he's dropped back. And we wasn't able to do that at all yesterday because it's such a flat midfield 3. We press sometimes well when they have the goal kicks, but then as soon as the midfield 3 all press at the same time, there's a massive gap from the defence to the midfield, and all the wingers and Hungarian wingers found a lot of room there. And for me, I think Hungary only had like 5 or 6 shots on target as well. They scored 4. Obviously, Ramsdale and the Pickford debate come into hand. I prefer Pickford for England, but I prefer, weirdly enough, Ramsdale in the Premier League in terms of where he plays. But I don't think personally Ramsdale could have done a lot. Maybe the last goal he got chipped, possibly. But end of the day, the one-on-ones, his reaction saves. It's like you have a split second to react, and I know it's obviously at elite level, but you can't expect everyone to split second save like that. So.
No, I think you're right. I think Southgate was brave in coming out and saying yesterday that he'd experiment with the team too much. He sort of took that on the chin and was like, look, I wanted to get to know a few of the players that haven't played as regularly for England. He obviously knows he can rely on Harry Kane to score goals. He knows Sterling obviously been a very reliable goal scorer. Harry Maguire, John Stones are obviously a reliable centre-back partnership for him. But so he wanted to use this time to get used to these players who have impressed in the Premier League this season but haven't particularly played for England so much. Interesting what you said about that, the fullbacks bombing on yesterday. I think with no probably shown yesterday how much we rely on Declan Rice in defensive midfield. But they tried to combat that by playing Walker in the back three. I don't know if you see when you went forward, James was obviously playing wide and left, but Walker was very rarely wide and right. It was when England were attacking, they made it into the back three with Walker. In the first half in particular. Obviously, they had to go for the game in the second half, so it was a bit different. And for me, this will force Southgate back into the back five. You know, the few times that he has tried a back four, it hasn't come off. Do you not think that now he will go with his tried and tested in the World Cup?
I don't know. Because if we had this conversation where he played exactly the same formation with his best team yesterday, or the Hungary game, then we could have won that game easily, perhaps. And then we had this discussion of thought about it might be good for Southgate, but because we don't know what he's like playing his first team, we're sure what he's like playing against Italy and Germany. And for me, I think Italy was the best game he played in terms of actual quality. Sterling had a couple of chances and we had a couple from nearby Van Bowen as well. But the five at the back does work because we had to combat Hungary because they play five at the back, which is why we did it. But if we play against teams four at the back as well and we play five at the back, we'll have a lot more room. But I don't think our ability to get the ball in the box is good enough for our players, considering that other teams could be like Germany and Italy, for example, have a lot of tall centre halves and powerful guys. And if you put that against the likes of perhaps Azure people, you got like Kane. Obviously, I know Kane's good in the end, Tammy Abraham and stuff or whatnot. But for me, I think we need to have better wingers in the squad. Obviously, Saka for me didn't perform very well. We had a discussion yesterday privately with Jared Bowen. I don't think he played poorly, but it wasn't great. But I don't think he played poorly. I think he played better than Saka. That's all I will say. For me, hopefully, want to see a better season this season for Sancho and Rashford. Hopefully, they can make their ways into the squad for the World Cup squad, and obviously the couple of games before it in the Nations League September. Because for me, that's basically the important position in the squad. I feel like was going wrong because a lot of the time it was Reece James and Kyle Walker whipping those balls in yesterday because the wingers couldn't really get the balls in. And when Sterling came on the pitch, he obviously delivered quite a few balls in the box that came, which one of them just missed. But yeah, apart from that,
I think what he has done is it's highlighted the players who are more important for England than the rest. Yeah. You know, we've mentioned Declan Rice, but it's obvious that some players suit this Southgate system more. You know, you think of last season, not the season before, Raheem Sterling had a very, very poor season for Manchester City. Then was England's best player at the Euros. Yeah. It's just how it is. Harry Maguire is infinitely more poor for Manchester United than he is for England. Just players suit certain systems. That's why I find it so hard to judge Southgate on these games, because he is mix and matching it. If we'd had 4 games of the 11 that's going to go and start in Qatar, then I'd be seriously worried. But I just think that not a lot of them players that played yesterday are going to be starting. The exception of maybe John Stones, Harry Kane, possibly Kyle Walker, depending on his situation at that point. Very few of them players are going to be starting, so I find it quite hard to judge. Plus, I suppose that probably brings us on neatly to what I wanted to discuss more poignantly. Gareth Southgate. Football fans online are very fickle. These are the same fans who will be singing Southgate, you're the one, after we win our first group game.
I think it's a little bit harder for you because you're obviously a verified account on Twitter now as well. People look to you as someone who they think should be atop of the opinions, and so I'm not trying to say that you haven't got a very good opinion. Yeah. But I'm saying is people look to you and go, okay, he's verified, his opinion must be worth something. So that's why, obviously, if you didn't see on Twitter yesterday, you got quite a few people not agreeing with what you said on Twitter. Yeah. So
casual football fans, right? And everyone is entitled to the opinion. I've never swayed from that. I watched the England games, I did, because I like watching football and I support England, but I found it hard myself to get up for if any of you have seen any clips on social media of us celebrating the Euros goals and stuff like that, you'll see how much we care about England, but I struggled to get up for them sort of games, so I don't imagine what the footballers who were knackered were thinking. Plus, on Southgate, I want to judge him on how he does in major tournaments, because we reached our first major final since '66, not even 12 months ago.
Yeah.
The previous tournament before that, we were semi-finalist. You know, we have made progress. And look, it's so easy to throw the argument, well, they bottled it in the big games. Well, we did beat Germany on the way to, you know, Germany we never beat Germany on the way. We beat a very good Denmark team who had beat some very good teams on the way to that semi-final.
Also inspired by the Ericsson incident as well.
Yeah, exactly. Look, we have had big getting over the penalty hoodoo against Colombia in the World Cup. You know, we have made significant strides forward under Southgate, and don't underplay the impact in the dressing room. You know, not having a toxic culture at a national team is something very new to England, and I think our people are just sort of discarding that. But that is a very important aspect to discuss because he's done really well in that aspect. They're all together, and I've no doubts that they will try and bounce back in the September friendlies. Obviously, more pressure on them now because I think if they lose to Italy, they're relegated from that Group A, aren't they? So there's more pressure on them, and they're the final 2 games to show Southgate, you know, who deserves to be in that squad. Look, if it comes to Qatar and we're out in the group stage, of course, then questions must be asked. But so far in major tournaments, for me, Southgate has shown significant progress, so he deserves this World Cup to show what he can do even further with this squad. And I'm sure this World Cup was earmarked for a number of years with the sort of development of these young players in the squad as a tournament that we can really go for. So I suppose it's a wait and see. I don't know how I know it's a bit of a long-winded answer, but I don't suppose how you're feeling about
I've seen
that.
a lot of people discuss a lot of the fact that in club level there's such high-level coaches in terms of Guardiola, Klopp, and then they come to international level and they get put with Gareth Southgate and they get told kind of not basic, but kind of what the training they do at England is so different to what they do at Man City and other elite clubs in the world, like Dortmund, for example, for Bellingham as well. I think some people don't find it very beneficial for coaching under Southgate. So a lot of people said, "Oh, we want the likes of Wenger, Klopp, Guardiola." I'm just saying names. Obviously, they're not going to take the job.
Yeah.
They want elite coaches. But the problem is, if you take an elite coach into a level international, that means there's a spare space left in club level as well. So it's kind of balancing that act out. Obviously, why people see. Yeah, I can obviously see why people think you need an elite level at international level, like the likes of. I'm trying to think. Well Belgium, Roberto Martinez. I think he's a elite level manager personally.
You got Flick at Germany. And,
yeah, exactly. Well, that's the point I'm saying. And people say you need elite level managers, and Southgate obviously is at all not an elite level manager. So for me, I can see why people at Southgate want him out because of that. But I've said previously, it's Nations League. Of course, nice to win the Nations League if we could. Obviously, we're not going to now. But end of the day, people said before the team even started, just glorified friendlies. Doesn't really matter. But then, if I was a Bristol City fan or Man City fan and you did a pre-season friendly playing your strongest team and say you lost to Braintree Town playing your strongest team,
I don't think Hungary that bad.
I would be worried. You know what I'm saying about that? So if you're playing a friendly against a team that's poorer than you against the strongest team, I'd be slightly worried if it was a friendly, even though it might be glorified friendlies. I'd still be slightly worried, and that's what I'm sensing a little bit. Obviously, it's in September. Players will be more fit and receive. People have better start to season. Pre-season might be massive this year because you know how small a pre-season it is, and obviously the whole World Cup situation going to be December and November and stuff like that. It's going to be such a chaotic season next season, so we can't be able to tell who's actually going to perform at the best. But for now, Southgate into the World Cup and judgment of the World Cup, like you said, major tournaments.
Question on what you've just said on managers. I've seen a lot of shouts. Obviously, Graham Potter.
Yep.
If you're a club manager, do you want to manage in England? I feel like there is this sort of divine right there. If England go, Potter, we want you. Potter would go, yeah, of course. Okay. Why would he want? I mean, he's performing above expectations at Brighton. You know, massively above expectations. It was another top half finish for him this season. I think he's a season or two away from a big job in the Premier League, and I'm talking top 6 big job. All it takes is one of these managers to be let go and be given a chance. There's this whole thing that the England job's a poison chalice for a manager. Not many managers have recovered from, you know, a poor stint as England manager. Why would Potter at such a young age want to take that job? Why?
I mean, I watched Potter when he was managing Östersund in Sweden when he obviously played. They won. They somehow came from like the 3rd division in Sweden, got all the basically Swedish champions. It was an unbelievable job what he did there.
He did well in the Europa League, didn't he? They did not
play
Arsenal. Yeah,
no, not Arsenal. He definitely played Arsenal anyway. So I remember watching them. Once he then went to Swansea and then went to Brighton. I completely understand what you mean, but I don't, off the top of my head, well, I mean, we're obviously 20, 21, 22 respectively. I've not, for me, watching England, seen a manager come off, like you said, like the Ericsson, Capello,
Hodgson, maybe.
Yeah.
He did okay at Palace, but not to the level that Potter is reaching.
Well, I want Hansi Flick, for example. a Bayern Munich manager. Why do you think that he's then progressed to German manager? People might be comparing it to that.
What a
example.
lot at Bayern though, and he was there for a long time. That was obviously just a fresh challenge for him.
Well, if I'm saying what you compare it and stuff like that, if you say, all right, for example, now say Potter then gets to a higher club and say, okay, so he's had a poor season. I don't know. Say Conte gets pissed off at Spurs, or it was surprising.
Very likely.
And then Potter comes in. He went to Premier League with Spurs 2 seasons or after that. Then, do you compare something to that? What Hansi Flick done in Germany, or do you think it's a bit different? I'm sorry, because you said then.
I just don't think managers nowadays are willing to risk what they've got at clubs for international anymore. I don't think it's that. It's prestigious, of course. Being an English manager is prestigious, and I do think there would be some managers that wouldn't. Eddie Howe as well. Would Eddie Howe turn down what he's got at Newcastle now? I don't think he would do. And again, it goes back to the argument. Football fans are so fickle. Potter would come in, maybe a little bit of a bounce, would win a few games, would be knocked out of a tournament in the semi-final, quarter-final, and they go, well, he's obviously not good enough, it's not attacking enough. I hate this argument that the thing is to just attack. That's the issue. That's just the solving the issue, is just attack with all the talent we've got. It's not how football works. Armchair coaches are the worst coaches on social media because they just think that is the solution. I just think at the moment, what Southgate has done to this national team is 100% deserving of another World Cup, and it's not going to happen. They're never going to sack him, but it'd be a massive mistake to sack him at the point now. Look, they've had a bad international break. It's been a long season. I think everyone needs a break. They need 3.5 weeks now on the beach. They've got half a season to go through before the World Cup as well. Don't forget, of course, because it's halfway through the season. Look, let's just put this. Because sometimes good teams have very bad days. That's what it happens. City, who were widely known as one of the best teams in Europe, conceded 2 goals in the space of 2 minutes at the end of a Champions League semi-final. Liverpool lost, to Aston Villa last year, 7-2. Big good teams have very bad days sometimes. I think I put it down to that.
I think it's personally as well the worst international break I've seen. I haven't seen Southgate have a very poor international break before.
Yeah, they haven't scored in open play for
it's the first time I've seen Southgate had a poor international break anyway. I know at the start of his career he was scraping 1-0, we're still winning though, kind of thing. But for me, this is the worst international break I've seen on the Southgate. Obviously, we are playing against teams at a higher level, so you could say if we played the team against San Marino and Gibraltar, for example, we win those games, and would we be happy? Would you rather, as a fan, see us beat, for example, Lithuania 5-0?
No.
Or lose to Hungary 4-0?
Again, it's the timing. I think if these fixtures were in September, like the ones that are going to come up in September, I think that's a perfect level for us to test ourselves at before a World Cup. These now, just again at the end of a long, hard slog of a season, don't think the players were particularly asked, but that's just my opinion. And everyone, of course, on Twitter is entitled to theirs. Anything you want to sort of add before we wrap it up?
I think mainly what we've gone off is Southgate in. The main clip from this Southgate in for me. I don't really see a point Southgate out until the World Cup, after the World Cup, sorry. Yeah. I think we're going to readjudge him now off 3 major tournaments and the players coming through now. Like we said, the Under-17 World Cup lads, Gallagher, Foden, Sancho, those lads are actually the ones who won the Under-17 World Cup, actually come into the first team squad now. And for me, they need to be playing regularly. Obviously, Conor Gallagher's a bit different, but in terms of Foden and Sancho, for me, they, in their prime, they're probably the best players we have in the wingers predominantly in England. And so for me, we need to see, hopefully now, obviously there's this a jaded season, which obviously December and November is going to be cut off completely from the rest of the league. With the World Cup, it's going to be so hard to judge on what the team's going to be capable of because it's so weird of a season. But we say this, but then the likes of Australia and MLS and other places around like the world, it's only Europe that season finishes in June. So all the other countries in the world are going to be finishing that season anyway. So when we always say a lot of seasons, that's always right for the World Cup. Every other places in the world, all of season finishes in December and November. So for us, it's going to be absolutely the first time where we're going to have to be taken away from our natural season. So it's going to be weird to see, but obviously Europe is the best continent in the world for football. So a lot of the best players in the world play in Europe anyway, if you know what I'm saying. So hopefully this Qatar World Cup will be never happen. Well, the November December World Cup will never happen again. Obviously, it all depends on
money.
Yeah, obviously Black's gone now, so it'll be different. So I'm not sure. I think the next World Cup's in the USA, Canada. I think in 2026. But obviously, like I said, then their season's still going on in MLS though. In June,
it's
in
too
June,
far
July.
away to think about.
I know, but it's sad. Obviously, I just have to think about. But for me, anyway, back on that. Southgate in, judge after the World Cup. If we don't get out of the group, sack him. For me, I think we've got the easiest group in the World Cup. I think it's hard to say now expectations, because I don't know where it will line up in the group and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, you got to beat the best teams in the world to get there. People said, "Oh, you didn't beat the best teams in the world to get to the semi-final of the World Cup." You're going to beat who's in front of you. That's the luck of the draw. That's the whole point of the World Cup. I think if Southgate doesn't match the semi-final from the previous World Cup, he's now got better players than he had back then. If he doesn't match it, I think he might struggle. That's my personal opinion. Do you have a similar opinion, or do you not want to make?
I don't want to. Only because I think he's earned the right. Let's just see how we're going to do.
Yeah.
I think we've got a young, exciting squad. Okay, they've had a bad international break. If this was weeks before the World Cup, of course you're worried, but no, not for me at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let us know what you think in the comments. Are you Southgate in or Southgate out? Let us know on social media if you dare venture onto that sort of site, because it does my head in. Anyway, we'll be back with some more very, very soon. Enjoy the summer, and we will see you very soon.